Dan, you're a YouTube channel, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Interesting. As am I. And I can only assume that you generate income for yourself with your YouTube channel.
You would be assuming correctly. Yes, I do.
As, as do I. We have so
Yeah.
much in common. We're both really good looking, and we both are YouTube channels that make income with our YouTube channels.
Yes, you've
Uh
got
huh.
it all right so far.
So, have you noticed? The reason I say this, and mind you, we both make money off of YouTube. Have you noticed anything different about YouTube lately? And then where are we at? Today is mid November 2023. I'm just saying, have you noticed anything that like maybe I've noticed?
Yeah, I think maybe it's well, we're ramping up into that time of the year that us YouTube channels who are monetized, this is one of our favorite times of the year because there's a lot more ads and money being spent by companies to run ads on YouTube.
There's a lot of ads, man. Wow. And the irony of all of this, I'm a YouTube channel, but I'm a YouTube consumer. I watch a lot of different niches on YouTube, and I am all over the place. And gee whiz, just to start a video on on whatever it is, you got to sit through like two unskippable ads anymore.
Yeah, that is one of the things that there's a lot less skippable ads, and I think it's just this time of the year, like I mentioned, there's a lot of companies spending the money, spending their advertising money, gearing up for the holidays, and they've been running those non-skippable ads
Oh
a
wow, yeah.
lot.
And I want to complain, and then I go, well, what am I complaining for? This is how I keep gas in the gas tank here.
Yep.
But at the same time too, the the reality is, had you and me not have a monetized channel, but we still have videos that people enjoy watching, it would have the exact same ads on it
Correct.
in the
Yes.
same frequency. And if they're unskippable, or if they're mid roll, they're still on there.
Yep.
And that's the big change that YouTube put through. Was that over a year now?
Yeah, it's
Where
been a little over a year.
it used to be just YouTube channels that did not meet the threshold to become a monetized channel. Those were the ones that could have ads rolled on them. Now it's any and all channels have ads.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
In the past, if you were monetized, if you were in the YouTube partner program and you were making money off of your videos, you would have ads run on them. But any other channel, you could just watch their videos. You would have no ads. But now
Right.
it's everything and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And people don't
Wow.
like that's the one thing is a lot of people sometimes are under the assumption that the creator, like me and you, are the ones placing those ads. And we just have a box that we check. And it's, are you monetizing this video or are you not?
Right.
And from there, it's all on YouTube. What ad it is, what type of ad it is, skippable, non skippable, what it's about,
Yeah.
that's all on YouTube.
And I think the ads that a consumer of YouTube videos, like if I'm watching someone else's channel or if someone's watching my channel, the ads that they're watching are determined by YouTube snooping on their own computer and their own search history, right?
Right. And somewhat to like what you have set up in your profile. Like, are you a male? Are you a female? Your age, your area, your demographics, all that stuff comes into play.
Uh-huh. If I have done a lot of searches on my computer recently for, I don't know, woodworking or power tools or something, I'll start seeing more of those type of ads
Yep.
when I'm watching YouTube videos.
But
Okay.
that's but that's all over. Wherever you go on any social media platform, you're going to start seeing that. It's going to pick up on like your interests, what you've been searching for, what you've looked at, you know, what
Yeah.
you're connected with. Now, have you
All right.
ever clicked on an ad that you've watched before a video?
I I'm pausing because I am pretty darn sure that I have never clicked on an ad
See, I
ever.
actually have. I've actually seen a few ads where I was like, "Wait, that looks kind of cool." So I'll click, and then it will like open in a separate window, and then I'll go back to it later. Like I won't. I'll click on the ad, and then I'll watch the video, and then go, look, explore the website or whatever it was. But I actually have seen some things that were kind of like, "Oh, hey, that looks kind of interesting. What is that?" I want more info on that.
I've kind of been reluctant to do it because I just always felt that I would just get avalanched in with similar ads, into my email and all over. So I don't know. I just never. I don't. I don't know. It's just the way I am. I keep reminding you that I'm very frugal. I don't buy a lot of stuff, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not as susceptible to ads.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you are.
I
You
don't
just
know.
don't know it.
Probably so. I think what we all are. I did a recent video on packaging on my kindling, and that the secret is not your product, it's the packaging. And I think that, we're all vulnerable to that at some capacity, don't you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That reminds me. I was going to mention. A while back we had this whole conversation about bags versus wrap, and I
Yes.
watched your video, and if I'm taking away your main point of the video, which I think I am, it's that bags are the way to go.
Oh, good heavens, no.
I remember you saying about the bag and the presentation and the packaging of your
There was
kindling was all, that's the way to go.
Yeah, the emphasis is on how I am selling this. So these are not being sold retail, they're not sitting on a shelf in a store. These are purchased, these are add-on sales of a firewood delivery.
Yeah,
So I think in that case it doesn't matter if you can see the product. It matters if you can see the packaging when it arrives. I think it's got a wow factor to it.
right. And if you arrived with that kindling wrapped up in saran wrap, it wouldn't have that wow.
I should start
I'm
advertising saran wrap on my channel.
I'm just saying that's just
Uh-huh.
how that was my takeaway from your video. So
Okay. All
yeah.
right. Well, that's an interesting takeaway. Yep. But talk about takeaway. Someone's taken away the fall where I'm living. It's been warm and sunshiny, and the temperature has not really, we've only had a couple frosts, but we haven't even fired up the outdoor wood furnace for the season.
Oh my goodness. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's middle of November.
Yeah. I know. This is the latest ever. We usually, I always say, we fire it up at Halloween, and then it goes until Easter. But this has been the latest, and there is now you have an outdoor wood furnace too, and we'll discuss all that. But the general principle of it is to keep that fire going, and in temperatures like this, where the furnace isn't going to run all day long and only just kick on at night, I run the risk of my fire going out, and it's just a
Oh,
pain. So we just wait until the temperature drops, and then we fire it up, and we just live with like space heaters at night.
yeah. That
Uh
striking a match and putting it by some cardboard is a lot of work.
huh. Well,
Start
I
that fire
will.
back up.
Yeah, okay. There is a convenience of, or the inconvenience of having to light your fire again, but I argue that it is difficult. It is hard on the furnace because I think of all the thermal expansion and contraction. If the temperature's up to 170, or if it drops again to ambient temperature, I think
Yeah.
that's hard on the joints, and you can like start fatiguing metal and seams and welds and the pipe fittings, which are plentiful, as my heat exchanger in the basement is holding back 150 gallons of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always find if it does warm up, I just end up I purposely put less wood in the boiler, and then I might only have to fill it or half fill it like once a day. But I started ours on October 9th, and but see, I've got a lot of wood that I want to burn up. Even as strange as that sounds, as being a hobbyist, I still have a
That's
lot of firewood around here to burn up.
that is an unsung role of your outdoor wood furnaces. It cleans your yard up nicely, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
Everything and anything goes in. If it fits
Yep.
through the door, it's going in.
The
Yeah.
uglies, the crotches, the scraps, the bark, the leaves, whatever.
Yeah. Branches that
Yep.
fall off your maple trees, everything goes in.
Yes.
It's like a big vacuum cleaner.
Well, I wish it would sometimes load that way. That would be nice, but yeah, it's just, I have so many like offcuts and odd shaped pieces, and
Yeah.
throw those
That's
in, gone.
that's how I heat my house with all the offcuts from my firewood production. And the interesting part of that is that's how I got into firewood, was because of my outdoor wood furnace. Yeah. Let's properly define a outdoor wood furnace. The outdoor wood furnace works the same way as your vehicle, your car, your truck's heater. It takes hot water and pumps it into your house. If you have a forced air furnace in the basement, you have a heat exchanger. It looks like a big radiator, and it slides into your ductwork. If you have a boiler or a hot water heat, your outdoor wood furnace would be piped directly into it so that the water circulates between the furnace outside and the heat exchanger inside.
Yes.
So your outdoor wood furnace is a big tank of water. And that's why it's important to keep your temperature up. If your fire goes out and your temperature drops, it could freeze up and bust. And that's bad.
Yes, that's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a firebox that's in the middle of a big tank of water, and it has its own aquastat. So if the water temperature drops, it kicks the blower motor on, or it opens the draft door, depending on what type of furnace you have. And it stokes up the fire, and it raises your fire temperature or your water temperature back up. And if the thermostat inside of your house says it's cold in here, it turns on, in my case, a forced air furnace, it turns on the blower motor and the water pump on the furnace out in the yard. And it pumps water through the heat exchanger, and the blower motor on my existing forced air furnace blows through it and uses the existing ductwork, and it fills my house up with warm water.
Warm air.
Yeah. Warm air, not
Right.
warm water.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that a lot of people sometimes wonder, but like the water, the purpose of the water is to transfer the heat from the boiler to your forced air furnace or whatever you're delivering the heat in your house to. And
Yes.
that's what it's used for. And in my case, my pump that circulates runs all the time. So
Oh, wow.
that's where if my fire goes out, the water will still circulate. And then if my temperature in the house drops below a certain point, my natural gas furnace kicks on, which then back heats the water. So it continuously, that exchanger works the same way backwards.
So your water pump is running all winter long,
Yep.
nonstop,
Nonstop.
just moving water. Interesting. Mine kicks on and off with the furnace.
Yep.
So as many times as your furnace inside your house kicks on, that's when my water pump outside kicks on. It just sits there and does nothing until it's needed. Does
Yeah.
your furnace also heat your hot water, your domestic hot water?
Yes. There's another exchanger on top of my water heater. And that's the first stop. So the water comes in, goes through that exchanger, goes to the, if there's a need for water, it like preheats it. So
Uh-huh.
the water coming into the water heater is heated up by the exchanger. And then from there it goes to the forced air furnace, same thing, exchanger, blow air across it, take the heat off. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's continuously running all day long, all night long. The water is circulating.
But the water that you drink inside your house is not the same water that's heating your house.
No.
It's a different loop. Is that right?
Yep. It's not.
Yeah.
They don't.
Same as mine.
Yeah. They don't. They don't mix.
Right. Because I think that would be bad. Some people put because if you that was one of the unintended consequences of an outdoor wood furnace was, and it didn't really matter though because we never go on vacation in the wintertime. And my wife, works for the school, so we're just always home through the winter. You just can't shut these things down and leave for the
Right.
weekend. But some people do, and they will put just antifreeze in there so that the water will not freeze up. The danger, though, is your domestic hot water. If you spring a leak inside, it could commingle, and somehow that poison could get into your drinking water. Other people I know have used food grade glycol in them
Yep.
just for that very reason. But at least in our case, we just it just goes. We never leave anywhere in the wintertime.
Yeah. We just. And my only concern is if the power goes out, because like I said, if the fire goes out, the water still circulates. So less of a chance of freezing. But if the power goes out, then everything comes to a stop, and then I could potentially run the risk of freezing up.
Yeah, well, if our power goes out, I can manage it on my own to keep the fire going. However, because one of my hobbies is solar, I have a solar backup system that's also wired to it. So it will run the blower motor and the water pump on my outdoor wood furnace and my blower motor inside the house in the forced air furnace. So
Oh,
we can still have heat as long as the
nice.
sun's shining.
Yeah, I was referring to if we were gone and the power went out and the
Ah,
fire went
yes.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I
I'm
was.
with you. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you now. Uh-huh. Yeah, so I think that the outdoor wood furnace is one of the greatest inventions of all time, but I think it's one of the most inefficient inventions in the history of the world. they are There cannot be a more inefficient machine. And if it
Well,
weren't for the fact that wood is, at least for me, wood is free and plentiful, um, it would make you second guess your decision.
yeah. And that's why when you see like advertisements for like the newer outdoor wood furnaces that are they claim to be like 40 to 50% more efficient
Yeah.
than the older models, but while that sounds good, that still isn't that
Yeah.
great. Or I don't know. I guess I haven't ever used one, but
Yeah.
it's just, they
I
do
I
eat a
think
lot of wood.
so outdoor wood so there's all different terms. Outdoor wood boiler, that's where my initials OWB came from, by the way. Different story. Outdoor wood furnace. Some people, I did a video on mine and people were really annoyed that I was calling it a furnace. They said it's a boiler, but I show the sticker right on the side of it. They call it a furnace. Um, Mine is made by Hardy, which is from Mississippi, but they're out of business. But mine is all
Ooh.
stainless steel and it's all made with your analog things that you can get at any hardware store. So I feel pretty good about that. But mine is probably the most inefficient of all of them. It's the king of inefficiency. All of the other inefficient furnaces look up to mine. Uh, you will watch it with the flame just shooting straight out of the smokestack. Um, and then, I went cheap on my pipe insulation underground and all the snow's melted off the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, all of the worms gravitate to there and they have a nice warm winter all year. Just very inefficient.
How deep is your line buried?
Well, I think it's 3 feet. But when I was installing it, so that you got it's the product. The lines are called PEX. It's like that
Yep.
real hard plastic.
Yes.
And at that time, it was $11 a foot to have 4 PEX lines encased in this hard plastic, and it's insulated, and it have like your electrical, your Romex going into it. I was like, I'm not spending that much money. I'll make my own. Yeah. And now I look at it, they're like 20-ish dollars a foot now for the same stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's where I didn't skimp. I went with the heaviest, most insulated pack tube of PEX I could get, and we buried it, I think, 5 feet down, and
Oh wow.
I don't think I lose much heat coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I do. But that being said, our house is as warm as toast in the wintertime. We
Oh
have
yeah.
complete disregard for the thermostat. We have the hottest shower in Northeast Ohio. Our shower is awesome, just nonstop hot water. What a great shower. But that was because before we had this, we would keep the thermostat real down. We'd freeze to death in here. We'd make the kids do jumping jacks because they're complaining how cold it was. We're not on the gas line out here, so we had propane heat. And once we had this outdoor wood furnace, I don't care if it uses more wood. I crank it up. We keep this house as warm as we want. That's the way. It's like my present to myself, because it is
Yeah,
a lot of work, and it's a daily chore, and I'm going to enjoy it.
that's right. How
Yeah.
how how long have you had that furnace or that boiler, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, ours was put in the fall of 2006. So
Okay,
that's
I can't do that math.
some serious math there. I can spell numbers, but I can't factor them.
So what? 17 years?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Holy moly's!
Uh-huh. And our gas bill all of those years has been zero.
Yeah,
Zero.
zero
We
dollars.
have a propane tank on the side of the house just for emergency, but that thing hasn't been touched. And I don't know, does propane expire? Yeah. How long
Are
have you
you?
had yours?
This will be my, I believe, 11th season.
Uh-huh.
But I
A
always
lot of
wonder what the lifespan of these things really are. I get worried.
Well, the lady I bought my furnace off of, Mrs. Shadle, she's up in Cherry Valley. When I bought mine in 2006, hers was 22 years old,
Oh,
and
wow.
she is still using hers. Now, Hardee's are built different. They're stainless.
They're hardy.
You don't, yeah, you don't have to treat the water. Um, there's been, I've had like the grates. I've talked about them. I break one of those once a year. But I shouldn't talk because I haven't fired it up yet for the year.
That was my
I don't
next
know what's
question.
yeah, I don't know what's waiting on me here. What's not going to work when I turn it on for the first time this year.
When do you think that's going to be?
I think I might do it this week. We have another warm week. It's supposed to be 60 on Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah, but it is getting cold at night, and then the rain's starting to come in with all this warm weather, and I don't know, I have started mine up once, for the year in the rain, and it's an all day event. You just can't go out there and just light your fire and go. It's an all day event. We bring the temperature up slowly because it's going from like the water's probably at 40 degrees and you're going to heat it up to 170 and then turn on the pump. Things are going to break.
yep.
So, yeah, I just make it an all day event. I'll bring it up about 20 degrees and I shut everything off and let the heat soak. And in another hour, I'll go out and do it again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I light mine and flip the switch and
Oh,
done.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the only one I got. And I have already committed, I think, once, if and when this thing breaks or I break.
Whichever comes first.
Yeah, I would not buy another one. Um,
Oh,
I wouldn't because it's a lot of work, and now the prices of these things are crazy.
yeah.
They'd have to be a long-term investment, and we're talking, right now with the kids are both in college. This house is just too big for us. If I could have spoke, if I could speak to my younger self, I would say, don't buy a big house, and then don't buy a 2-story house either. I saw what stairs do to my parents when they got older.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I probably wouldn't replace it. Um, and I don't know. It it's brought so much joy to my life though. I'd hate to not do it again. But I think there comes a time when, you know, and you probably feel it too, come March, don't you get tired of feeding that thing?
Well, not really. Actually,
No?
I kind of enjoy it, and I've actually contemplated running it year round. Just
Oh wow.
not burning as much and not having to fill up so often in the summer, obviously. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm getting to that point now where I'm like worried something's going to happen, something's going to go out on it, and then I'm going to have to make that decision of whether or not to replace it, and I just
Ugh.
don't know what I would do.
Yeah. When I bought mine, I'll give you numbers here. I remember these. 2006, I was looking all over in the central boilers, which are like the popular ones, at least around here. They're real big, man. They're about the size of like a porta john, maybe like two of them that size.
Yep.
They were like $15,000. And even then, I was thinking that's too expensive, man. I could heat my house, and not have to do anything for how many years? But the Hardy, I got it for $5,000, and
Nice.
Dad and I installed it ourselves. I had a neighbor dig the trench, and we did everything, and it was $5,000, and we had it paid off into halfway through our third season of heating this house.
Wow.
Yeah, so our return on investment, it has more than paid for itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Same
know,
here. I think
yeah.
when we built our house, everything, I think the Woodmaster 4400 installed everything, hooked up, ready to go. I think it was just over like 9,000. But now, if I were to replace that, I think I'd be looking at like 20.
Oh my gosh. They are gosh. I would always I and I'm going to do a video and I talk frankly about these things because they're not for everyone. If you have neighbors, I would probably say no. If you want to keep them your friends, I would say no because you try to account for the prevailing winds in the wintertime, but you know how it is. That
Oh
wind
yeah.
blows every direction it wants to. And I'll look out and it's just blowing right onto the neighbor's house. And our neighbors live pretty far away from us. If you have neighbors, I would say no. If you travel in the wintertime, I would say no. If you are not into firewooding and chainsaws and mess, I would say no. And then the big mistakes that I made, I put mine in the correct spot, but there's no way to get to it in the wintertime if I needed to bring in more wood because it's
Oh yep.
surrounded by mud. It's well off the driveway, you know. But you want it in a spot where I want to be able to see it through my window when I'm inside the house because the smokestack tells you what's going on. You'll
Right.
know
Yep.
right away if there's a problem by looking at the smokestack.
Yep. Yeah.
Hmm.
I've got the mind set in the right spot. And like I said, the only thing I would have, if something happens, I just have to make that decision of, you know, I'm kind of leaning towards, I think I would keep doing it because I enjoy making firewood and I always have so much of it.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy doing my firewood as well. And really, my whole firewood business is because of my outdoor wood furnace. We bought this house that we couldn't afford to heat. And out here in the country, they're plentiful. But then, you start seeing, and I'm not totally responsible with mine. If the wood fits in it, it goes in. You throw in green wood and stuff, and it doesn't matter like it would if you have a chimney on your house. But it just belches smoke, and we know that's not good. It's not good for the neighbors. They're just very inefficient. But that's been my thing. I don't pay for my wood. Um, but before I became a firewood business, I
Yeah.
got all my wood for free.
Yep.
I think if you had to pay for your firewood, it's not worth it. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
exactly. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But that's what I learned. It's easy to find free firewood.
Yeah, you can
You
get
know?
a lot of it.
Yeah. Very easy. I've never spent a dime for my wood until I started buying these log trucks for my firewood business.
Yeah, but you still have to you have to put in the work to
That's a lot of work.
process it up. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a lot of work. There's no two ways around it. But for me, that work brought joy to my life. I enjoyed it. It gave me hobbies, with chainsaws and firewooding
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and log splitters. It just brought joy to my life, and it still does. And but they're not for everyone.
Right. Yeah, if I ever get rid of my boiler and I don't replace it, I'll probably like 3 times a year be having big bonfires.
Well,
Just
you should
burn it
turn
all up.
that. Yeah, you should turn that hobbyist moniker that you have and become a professional firewood sales delivery service.
Ah, that's I don't know. Then there's just too many things to worry about.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to. I wouldn't want to have to be going to the bank 3 times a week. You know.
Well, I'm here to tell you, if your back gets sore from feeding that furnace all the time, your elbow gets sore selling firewood from counting all those $20 bills.
I know you get your wrist is like sore from just flipping through those bills.
Yeah, it's a tough job. I'm here to tell you.
I know. I know.
All right, Dan. Well, what do you say? Let's strike up the band, and maybe I'll go out and fire up my furnace today. But if I do, I'm making a video of it.
I was just gonna say, I think we should strike up the band, and you should go strike up the fire in that wood port furnace boiler,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Well, I'll have a delivery this evening, but maybe tomorrow.
Oh yes, maybe tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, I want to tell everyone thank you for tuning in to the Woodhounds podcast and help making us the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Oh yeah, each and every Wednesday, 5 a.m. Eastern, right here, your favorite podcasting platform. All right, so with that, Joe, I want you to stay
Humble,
be
out at your furnace,
and have
a great day.